Okay, class, let us always stand for our opening prayer.
Our Father, who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done, on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our trespasses, as we forgive those who trespass against us. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. Our dear Father, art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done, on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our trespasses, as we forgive those who trespass against us. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. Our dear Father, our dear Father.
Good morning, my dear students. How are you? Are you all feeling good? That's great. So, for your attendance class, I can see that all of the chairs are occupied, meaning that no one is absent for today. So, let's give ourselves 3 claps. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. So before we start to our lesson, let us remember these 3 rules. Are you ready, class? Okay, listen carefully. So the first rule is listen carefully to the teacher. Next is behave yourselves. And the last is participate actively to the class. Okay, class. So for our motivation class, listen carefully to the instructions. So for the instructions, examine each pictures and write down everything you see from the images. Are you all understand, class? Okay, very good. Okay, class, are you ready to begin our activity? Okay, let's start. So here's the first picture. I will give you 1 minute to write down everything that you see in the picture. So your 1 minute start now. Okay, class, what are the things that you saw? Yes, Jerwin? Very good. What else? Bravo. Another one? Yes? Good job. Okay, class, do you have any another answer? Yes? Very good, class. Now let's proceed to the second picture. So this is the second picture. So I'll give you 1 minute to list again the things that you saw. Your 1 minute starts now. So now, class, tell me the things that you saw. Yes, Kyla? Very good. Any another answer? Yes, Angelica? Very good. Another? Yes, Daniela? Good job. Good job, class. All your answers are correct. Okay, Okay, class, now let's proceed to the third picture. This is the third picture. I'll give you another 1 minute to list down all your answer. Your 1 minute starts now. Okay, class, tell me the things that you see. Yes? Very good. Another answer? Yes? Angel? That's great. Oh, another answer? Yes, Joy. Exactly. So all your observations are correct. Now let's proceed to the fourth picture. This is the fourth picture, class. Okay, class, I will give you another 1 minute to list down all your observations in this picture. So your 1 minute starts now. Now, class, can you tell me the things that you see? Yes? That's correct. Another answer? Yes, Angelica. Very good. Angela saw a girl in the doorway. Another answer, class? Yes, Erica. Impressive. All your observations are correct. So now, class, here is the fifth picture. So I will give you another 1 minute to list all the things that you see on the picture. So your 1 minute starts now. Okay, class, I think you are all done. So tell me your observations. Yes? Very good. Another answer. Good job. So class, all your observations are correct. So now let's proceed to the sixth picture. So class, this is the sixth picture. So I'll give you another 1 minute to list down all your observations you see in this picture. So your 1 minute starts now. So are you all done? Okay, can I hear your answer, class? So yes, Jerwin. What is your observation you saw on the picture? So very good. Another answer, class? Yes, Anika. Very good. Another answer? Yes, Crystal. Good job. Okay, class. All of your answers are correct. So now let's proceed to the seventh picture. The seventh picture is this. So, class, again, I'll give you 1 minute to write down all your observation you saw on this picture. So your 1 minute starts now. So I think you are already done. So can I hear your answer, class? So yes, Angel. That's great. So another answer. Yes, John. Excellent. So another answer. Yes. Good job. So class, very good. All your observations are correct. Now let's proceed to the eighth picture. So the eighth picture is this, class. So again and again, I'll give you 1 minute to list down all your observation in this picture. So your 1 minute starts now. So I think you are already done. So can I hear your answer, class? So yes, Micah. That's great answer. Another answer? Yes, Kyla. Good job. So another answer? Yes, Charlie. Good job. Very good, students. All your answers are correct. This activity has something to do with our lessons for today. Thank you for all your participation. Give yourselves 5 claps. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That's great. So, Gestalt psychology, it is the forefront of cognitive psychology. Ang focus ng Gestalt psychology is the mental processes of a learner or kung paano natututo ang isang tao through perception. So, Gestalt theory is talk about how a person learns through senses, especially visual perception. Meaning ng Gestalt ay form or configuration. So, according to the study ng ilang mga psychologists about perception, ang isang tao ay active learner, not passive. Meaning, para maintindihan ng isang tao ang isang bagay, he or she process all the data and information, then restructure it. For example, sa pag-aaral ng exam or pointers to review, there are people na ginagamit ang mga daliri niya para matandaan niya per point yung mga inaaral niya. So, ano ba? So, another example class is kapag sa enumeration, may mga learners na memorize yung mga initial letters ng lahat ng points para matandaan nila. So, that's what the Gestalt theory talks about.
Hi everyone, it's a beautiful day and I hope you're all having a great time at the comfort of your own home. I am teacher Gian Bondok and for today's discussion, we're gonna be talking about Gestalt psychology. Are you ready to listen, class? Okay, let's officially start our discussion. So for today's lesson, we're gonna be talking about Gestalt psychology. What this means, what are its principles, and also certain examples of it. But first, let's define what the word Gestalt means. Gestalt is a German word that roughly means configurations, or the way things are put together to form a whole object. What does this mean? The activity that you did earlier with Ma'am Grace where there are a lot of images, right? But each images can make one whole image. That is the concept of Gestalt. So what is Gestalt psychology? Gestalt psychology was a movement in psychology founded in Germany in 1912. Its main aim is to explain perceptions in terms of whole rather than analyzing their constituencies. Gestalt psychology was at the forefront of cognitive psychology, and it served as the foundation of cognitive perspective in learning. So, when we say cognitive perspective, it is more widely held than the behavioral perspective, perhaps because it is more flexible or flexibly admits related to mental constructs such as traits, beliefs, memories, motivations, and even emotions. And it opposes the external factors and mechanistic focus of behaviorism. And it is considered the mental processes and products of perceptions. And now we can see the advanced organizer of Gestalt psychology. So under the Gestalt psychology, we have the first is the Gestalt principle, which is composed of 5 laws, which are the law of proximity, the law of closure, the law of good continuation, and the law of good pregnance, and the last one is the law of figure or ground. And these principles will be discussed later. And also under Gestalt psychology, we also have insight, and the last one is the life space. And under the life space, we have inner forces and outer forces. Gestalt theory was the initial cognitive response to behaviorism. It emphasized the importance of sensory rules and the dynamic nature of visual perception. So, Gestalt psychology is a school of thought that looks at the human mind and behavior as a whole. When trying to make sense of the world around us, Gestalt psychology suggests that we do not simply focus on every small component. Instead, our minds tend to perceive objects as elements of more complex systems. And now, we all have the people that are behind the Gestalt psychology. They are psychologists Max Wertheimer, psychologist Wolfgang Kohler, and psychologist Kurt Kafka. They are the ones who studied perceptions and concluded that perceivers or the learners are not passive but rather active. What do we mean by that? As what we know, passive learning requires learners to absorb, assimilate, consider, and translate information. In other words, it is teacher-centered learning. While in active learning, it requires students to think, discuss, challenge, and analyze informations. And in other words, it is the learner-centered learning. They suggest that learners do not just collect information as is, but they actively process and reconstruct or restructure data in order to understand it. This is the perceptual process. Certain factors impact this perceptual process. Factors like past experiences, needs, attitudes, and one present situations can affect their perceptions. One may have difficulty perceiving both you and me if one is trying to forget an ex-sweetheart who caused pain, or simply because he was looking at the foreground and not the background. According to Gestalt psychologists, the way we form our perceptions is guided by certain principles or laws. These principles or laws determine what we see or make of things or situations we meet. Here is Teacher Grace to continue our discussion and explain to us what are these principles or laws.
So class, do you understand what is Gestalt psychology? Okay, very good. Now let's proceed to the Gestalt principles. So we have 6 Gestalt principles. These are the law of proximity, law of similarity, law of closure, law of good continuation, law of good fragrance, and the last is insight learning. So, law of proximity, elements that are closer together will be perceived as coherent objects, and objects near each other tend to be grouped together. So, when we search the meaning of the word proximity in the internet, it means lapit. Sinasabi sa law of proximity, kapag magkakalapit ang ibang bagay, naiisip natin sila na iisa silang group. So, take a look at this picture, class. So, as you can see to the picture, there are 2 groups. On the left, there appear to be 3 circles, while on the right columns, there are 2 circles. So, if you notice, class, they are same. They are same size, color, shapes. But because there are space between the 2 columns, so we can conclude that there is 2 groups. So, pinapatunayan lang na yung idea na magkakalapit na object, nakikita natin sila as a group. Do you understand, class? So, do you have any question before we proceed to the next principle? Okay, that's great. The next principle is the law of similarity. So, elements are look similar we perceive as part of the same form, and elements similar to one another tend to be grouped together. So when we search in the internet what is the meaning of similarity, it means magkakamukha or magkakamukha. So, law of similarity, tinitignan yung mga bagay na magkakamukha. So, kapag nakita natin yung mga bagay na magkakamukha, makukonclude natin sa sarili natin na sila ay magkakasama sa isang group or iisa lamang silang group. So, let's take a look at to this picture, class. So, in this picture, class, you will see the example of law of similarities. So, as you can observe the picture, there are 2 shapes, the triangle and the circle. Although magkakadikit yung mga shapes, pero makikita pa din natin dalawang group, the group of triangle and the group of circle. So, do you understand, class? So, very good. Do you have any question? Okay, that's great. So, Sir Gideon will continue the discussion. So, thank you for listening.
Good day everyone, I am Mark Gideon Silvestre and we are done with the other law. Our next principle is the law of closure. According to the law of closure, we perceive elements as belonging to the same group if they seem to complete some entity. Our brains often to ignore contradictory information and fill in gaps in information. As you can see here in our picture, you probably see the shape of the two triangles with the three colored circles that contour and ignore the gaps in the figure. Alam nyo ba, class, na ang isip natin ay may kaugalian na punan yung mga puwang o yung kulang o yung mga nawawalang bahagi ng figures. At yung mind natin ay na-train na ito ay tatsulok, and with the help of contouring circles, mas na-enlighten yung triangles. Kaya sa ating figures, mas nakikita na natin yung mga triangles because of the contouring circles. Upang mas lalo pa nating maintindihan ang law of closure, ako nga pala ang inyong virtual partner upang makapagbigay pa ng halimbawa ng law of closure. Handa na ba kayo mga bata? Let's start! For our first figure, ano sa tingin ninyo ang ginamit nating shape at nabuong object sa inyong mga isipan? Sige, ikaw, Ginoo. Tama! Napakagaling! Gumamit tayo ng hexagon shape at nakabuo ng circle, at ang object na nabuo sa ating figure ay isang soccer ball. Napakahusay! For our second figure, ano sa tingin ninyo ang ginamit nating shape at nabuong object sa inyong mga isipan? Sige, ikaw, Binibini. Mahusay! Gumamit tayo ng tatsulok o triangle at may rectangle din, at nakabuo tayo ng isang diamond. Napakahusay! Para sa ating huling figure, ano sa tingin ninyo ang ginamit nating shape at nabuong figure sa inyong mga isipan? Sige, ikaw, Ginoo. Tama! Gumamit tayo ng triangle at nakabuo tayo ng square. Dahil sa triangle, nagsilbi itong contour upang mas lumabas ang figure ng square. Did you understand the law of closure, class? Any question or clarification before we move on to the next law? Okay, I hope you understand the law of closure. Let's now move on to the law of good continuation. To the law of good continuation. Individuals have the tendency to continue contours whenever the elements of the pattern establish an implied direction. People tend to draw a good continuous line. As you can see here in our figure, that the points that are connected by straight or curving lines are seen in a way that follows the smoothest path. In other words, elements in a line or curve seems more related to one another than those positioned randomly. Kasama ninyo ako muli, ang inyong nag-iisang virtual partner upang magbigay ng karagdagang kaalaman sa law of good continuation. Handa na ba kayo? Mabuti kung ganon. Let's start! For our first picture, ano sa tingin ninyo ang larawang iyan? Sige, ikaw, Ginoo. Mahusay! Ito ay isang Google Maps. Google Maps also follow the rule of continuity. It shows us the pathway from the starting point to the destination, and we follow that pathway to reach our destination. And for our second and third picture, familiar ba kayo sa dalawang logong iyan? Sige, ikaw, Binibini. Tama, ito ay ang logo ng Coca-Cola and Amazon. Coca-Cola and Amazon follow the continuation principle of Gestalt theory. The Coca-Cola logo is one of the most famous soft drink brand. Our eyes follow the C from Coca to Cola, beginning from the C in the word Cola through L and A. And for Amazon, there is an arrow starting from A and ending to C, which depicts that Amazon has everything from A to Z. These types of visual aids helps our eyes to follow an upcoming object. Okay class, did you understand the law of good continuation? Okay, I hope you understand the law of good continuation. Do you have any question or clarification before we move on to the next law? Okay.
Good day to all of you. Again, I am Sir John Ray Esser. And now we are done on the first 4 Gestalt principles. Again, can you give me the first Gestalt principle? Yes, Crystal? Very good. The first Gestalt principle is the law of proximity. What about the second Gestalt principle? Yes, Jerwin? Great! The law of similarity. How about the third law of Gestalt principle? Yes, Marian? Good job! The law of closure. And what is the fourth Gestalt principle? Yes, Christine? Very good! The law of good continuation. Okay, so let us now tackle the fifth Gestalt principle, the law of good pregnancy. Okay, class? So the law of good pregnancy states that our brain will make the simplest interpretation of the visual stimuli. Again, class, our brain will make the simplest interpretation of the visual stimuli. This principle is also often referred to the law of simplicity or the law of good figure. In this principle, it says that the brain uses force fields to make meaning and structure into an incoming information. Again, class, in this law, which is the law of good pregnancy, it uses our brain's force fields to make meaning or to create structure into an incoming information. Also, class, the law of good pregnancy says that the people will perceive and interpret ambiguous or complex images as the simplest form possible. Okay, class, can you take a look at this picture? Are you familiar with this logo? Yes, Marian? Very good. This is the Olympic ring. Okay, class, for example, we perceive that the image of a series of circles rather than as much more many complicated shapes. So, class, in this image, we can perceive that the image is a series of circles, no? Rather than as much more many complicated shapes. This principle is based on the idea that we perceive images as simple rather than complex, and complete rather than incomplete. Okay, class, so this is the another example. You can see that there are multiple complex shapes that we can perceive as only in one shape. Again, we can see multiple complex shapes, but we perceive in our minds that it is only one shape. Class, please take a look at this another example. What can you see, class? Yes, Christine? Okay, very good. Christine says that she saw a cube. So, Christine perceived that she saw a cube rather than many other floating objects, no? So you can see there are different floating objects, but Christine perceived in her mind that she saw a cube. So that's how we will apply the law of pregnancy in real life. Okay, class, please take a look at the another example. What can you see, class? Yes, Marie? Okay, very good. Marie says that she saw a dog. We can also see in the picture that it has many dots, but Marie Chris perceived in his mind that she saw a dog. Again, it is a very good example of and one of the application of law of pregnancy. And that is the law of pregnancy. Thank you so much to all of your participation, class. kindly give yourself 5 claps. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Very good, class. And now, class, let us go to the 6th principle of the Gestalt psychology. So, the 6th principle is what we call the figure ground or figure versus ground. Figure versus ground principle show us that when we perceive something visual, we see it as fitting into one of 2 categories. Again, we see it as fitting into one of 2 categories. In figure versus ground principle, we have something that we focus on, which is the figure. And we have the backdrop or the background, which is going to be the ground. Again, class, in figure versus ground principle, we have here the figure, which is the something that we must focus on. And we have the backdrop or the background, which is the ground of the figure. In this example, class, we call it a reversible figure or reversible photo. In this example, class, you are going to determine on which is going to be the figure and which is going to be the ground. So the viewer has the choice to choose which is going to be the figure and the ground. For example, you can see the white portion as the figure. So the white portion, we can see that it is a base. And the black color, it is going now to be its background. So it is the ground. Again, class, so the figure becomes the base and the ground becomes its background or the color black figure. In another way around, you can also see two faces looking at each other. So the viewer can decide which one will be the figure or which one will be the ground. So the black portion, we can see that there are 2 faces facing each other. So it is going to be our figure. And the white portion will become the ground or the backdrop of the figure. So class, in figure-ground relationship, you are the one to decide on which perception or which viewpoint you see first. Again, class, the viewer is the one who will decide on which perception or which viewpoint they will see first. So now, class, I will give you the following examples and I will let you choose which is for you going to be the ground and which is going to be the figure. Okay, class, are you ready? Very good. Let us now start. Here is the first example. Okay, class, for the first example. Yes, Angela? Okay, so Angela says that the figure that he saw is the tree. And the ground is going to be the gorilla figure and the tiger figure. Or how about Gian? What did you see? Okay, so Gian says the opposite. So Gian says the figure will be the gorilla and the tiger, while its ground will be the tree. Very good, class. Do you now understand the figure ground principle? Good job. Now let's give ourselves 5 claps. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Good job. Okay, take a look in the last example, class. Who among you see Wolverine? Or who among you see 2 Batmen? All your answers are correct. Now I can completely say that you can apply the figure ground principle in your lives. Good job, students! For that, give yourselves 5 claps. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Good job! Okay, class, let us now continue our lesson and proceed to the insight learning. Theory of insight learning is also known as Gestalt theory of learning. Again, the theory of insight learning is also known as the Gestalt theory of learning. Wertheimer, Kafka, and Kohler are the Gestalt psychologists. The word Gestalt in German means whole configuration, pattern, or forms. Again, the word Gestalt in German means whole configuration, pattern, and form. So, these 3 psychologists believes that the whole is greater than parts. They also believe that humans do not experience things in isolated pieces, but in meaningful, intact configuration. Again, they also believe that humans do not experience things in isolated pieces, but in meaningful, intact configuration. To further understand more this theory, let us look at the experiment of the theory. So, one of the psychologists named Kohler made this experiment in 1920. He conducted several experiments on a chimpanzee named Sultan. Sultan was put inside the cage and will be presented with a problem that is not easy to solve, such as placing food in area that is too high to reach. So Kohler would also place a box or sticks inside the cage to observe Sultan and his existence of insight. For instance, in one of the experiment, Kohler hung banana from the roof of the cage of such a height that Sultan could not reach it even by jumping upward. A box is also placed inside the cage. After many attempts, Sultan seems to contemplate for some time, and suddenly, Sultan used the box as a platform to reach the banana. Kohler says that it was not because of trial and error method for solving the problem, but a sudden insight after contemplating. Now let us see what is learning by insight or insight learning. Insight learning is the sudden grasping or understanding of the solution to a problem. Again, insight learning is the sudden grasping or understanding of the solution to a problem. It's not the result of trial and error or responding to stimulus, but it is a cognitive experience to visualize a problem, things, and get insights or find solution to solve a certain problem. In a very simple way, let us see the steps involved in insight learning. The first step is we perceive the situation or the problem. And then the second is we try to attempt by trial and error. And after we fail, the third one is we contemplate and think. And then we get sudden insight, and lastly, we apply and solve the solution. Now let us see the factors influencing insight learning. Number 1 is experience. Our past experience helps in insightful solution to our problem. Again, our past experiences helps us in insightful solutions into our problem. The second factor that affects insight learning is intelligence. So the more intelligent an individual, it is greater his insights. Again, the more the intelligent the individual, it is greater his or her insights. The third factor that influences insight learning is learning situation. Favorable situation open ways for insightful solutions into a problem. Again, favorable solution open ways for insightful solutions to a problem. Let us now proceed to the fourth factor, which is the initial efforts. Insightful goes through a trial and error after insightful learning occurs. Again, insightful goes through trial and error after which insightful learning occurs. And the last factor that affects insight learning is repetition and generalizations. After solving the problem of a solution, the learner repeats the insightful solution or idea to another problem. So what are the education implications of insight learning? The first one is learning situations should be presented in Gestalt form or whole form. The second, a subject should not be isolated but integrated with other subjects. And the third, emphasis to be given on students' mental abilities and the importance of understanding instead of rote memories. And that is the insight learning. Now, do you understand our lesson, class? Very good! Thank you so much for listening. Give yourselves 5 claps. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Good job, students!
Principle not only influence perceptions but also impact learning. So it says that we can also apply this theory in the teaching and learning process. Other psychologists like Kurt Lewin expounded on Gestalt psychology. Influenced by Gestalt psychology, Lewin developed a theory that emphasized the importance of individual personality, interpersonal conflict, and situational variables. In Lewin field theory, he proposed that behavior is the result of the individual and the environment. In his theory focusing on life space, adhered to Gestalt psychology, he said that an individual has an inner forces and outer forces that affect his perception and learning. Inner forces included his motivation, attitudes, and feelings, while in outer forces, it may include the attitude, behavior of the teacher, and their classmates. So, all of these forces interact and impact the person's learning. And in addition to that is Mario Polito, an Italian psychologist, writes about the relevance of Gestalt psychology to education. So the relevance of Gestalt theory in education is that Gestalt theory is focused on the experience of the contact that occurs in here and now, and it considers with interest the life space of teachers as well as students. It takes interest in the complexity of experience without neglecting anything but accepting and amplifying all that emerges. It stimulates learning as experiences and the experience as a source of learning. And it appreciates the affections and meaning that we attribute to what we learn. Knowledge is conceived as continuous organization and rearrangement of information according to needs, purposes, and meanings. It asserts that learning is not accumulations but remodeling or insight. The autonomy and freedom of the student are stimulated by the teacher. The time necessary for the assimilation and for cognitive existential remodeling is respected. And the contact and experiences between teachers and student is given value. Let us go back and let us recall our lessons today. So, I'm gonna say some statement or phrases and you're just gonna answer if it is true or it is false. Is that clear, class? Okay, let's start. The first one is, law of closure tends to fill the gaps or close the figure we perceive. Is it true or is it false? Anyone? Yes, Jerwin. Very good. It is true. Next one. Law of proximity is that the elements that are closer together will be perceived as positive objects. Is it true or is it false? Anyone? Yes, Joy. That is false because it is coherent. Next one. Law of dissimilarity is that elements that look similar will perceive as part of same form. Is it true or is it false? Anyone? Yes, Marian. It is false because it is the law of similarity. Very good. The fourth one. Law of good continuation is that individuals have the tendency to continue contours whenever the elements of the pattern establish an implied direction. Is it true or is it false? Anyone? Yes, Flora? That is true. Very good. Next one. Law of figurative tends to pay attention and perceive things in the foreground first. Is it true or is it false? Anyone? Yes, Fernando. That is false because it is the law of figure, not figurative. Very good. Next one. Gestalt psychology adheres to the idea of learning taking place by discovery or insight. Is it true or is it false? Everyone. That is true. Very good. Next one. We have 4 Gestalt principles. Is it true or is it false? Everyone. That is false because how many we have? We have 6 principles. Very good. Next one. Wolfgang Kohler is one of the 3 psychologists who studied perception. Is it true or is it false? Anyone? Yes, Tristan. That is true. Very good. The next one. Mario Crisostomo, an Italian psychologist, writes about the relevance of Gestalt psychology to education. Is it true or is it false? Anyone? Yes, Mika. That is false. Why is it false? Because he is Mario Polito, not Crisostomo. Very good. And the last one, he said that the individual has in and out forces. Is it true or is it false? Everybody. That is false. Why is it false? Because it is the inner forces and outer forces. Well done, class. It seems like you truly understand our lessons.
Before we proceed to the evaluation part, let's have an activity first. For the direction, identify the Gestalt principle present in each picture. Again, identify the Gestalt principles present in each picture. Do you understand, class? Okay, very good. Write down your answer in your notebook and I will give you 5 minutes to finish your activity. Then after that, we will check your work. You may now start answering. Are you all done, class? Okay, let's check your answer. Who wants to answer for number 1? Yes, Leslie? Very good. It is law of figure and ground. How about for number 2? Yes, Casey? Excellent. It is law of proximity. For number 3, who wants to answer? Yes, Mark. Precisely. And for the number 4, yes, Nestle? You're right. It is law of good communication. What about for number 5? Yes, Karen? Correct. Law of good pregnancy. How about for number 6? Who wants to answer? Yes, Kate. Precisely. It is law of closure. For number 7, yes, Carla? Very good. How about for number 8? Yes, Carl? Excellent. It is law of figure ground. For number 9, who wants to answer? Yes, Nathan? Precisely. And for the last number, yes, Daniel? It is law of figure ground. And you now understand the lesson very well. May I know who got the perfect score? Please raise hand button.
Wow!
99% of the class got a perfect score. Job well done, class. Thank you. Evaluation part. I will send the Google form link, then I will give you 5 minutes to answer. It is clear, class? Okay, very good. Wow! Congratulations! You've got the high score. Thank you very much, class. Here is Teacher January to discuss your assignment. Bye!
Hello class! I am here again. Before we part ways, I will give you first your assignments. Kindly get your notebooks, class, and I will tell you your assignment. You will create an essay with a maximum of 2 to 3 paragraphs. Again, you will create an essay with a maximum of 2 to 3 paragraphs. In your own understanding, what is your insight about this photo? Or what is the meaning behind this photo for you? Or what does the photo wants to tell you? You will write it down in your essays. Do you understand, class? Do you have any questions? Okay, that's great. Thank you so much for listening, class, and have a wonderful day. Goodbye.